Obesity in America. This is a reality that everyone sees, but very few dare to talk about. When you walk down the street, go to a shopping mall, or sit in a restaurant, it's hard not to notice. America is facing one of the greatest health crises in its history. The shocking truth is, according to CDC data, more than 40% of American adults are obese. That number isn't just a statistic. It represents tens of millions of people facing the risk of heart disease, diabetes, cancer, and even shorter lifespans. And yet, society often chooses to look away. Why? Because it's uncomfortable. Because it forces us to question our own lifestyle, our eating habits, and the industries that profit from unhealthy choices. This video isn't about criticizing or blaming anyone. Its purpose is for us to face the truth, a truth that for too long, very few have dared to speak about. Because if we don't start this conversation today, the health of future generations will be at risk. So let's be honest, let's be brave, and together, let's uncover the truth about obesity in America, the truth that society has been silent about for far too long. When we talk about obesity in America, many people often think it's simple. You eat too much, you don't exercise enough, that's why you're obese. But the truth is far more complicated and much more alarming. There are deeper causes that, if we don't address them, we will never solve this problem at its root. First, let's look at America's food culture. Everywhere you go, you see fast food, a burger, a bucket of fried chicken, a giant soda, all for just a few dollars, but packed with calories, sugar, and fat far beyond what the human body actually needs. Fast food has become so normalized that many families treat it as a daily meal, and our bodies are paying the price. Next, there's the modern sedentary lifestyle. Decades ago, people moved more, worked with their hands, burned calories naturally. But today, most of us spend hours sitting in front of screens. From work to entertainment, almost everything happens with a click. The result? Our bodies burn fewer calories while our intake keeps rising. But the story doesn't stop there. A cause few dare to speak about is the power of the food and beverage industry. Companies spend billions of dollars every year on advertising, making us believe that soda equals happiness, that snacks equal a lifestyle, that fast food equals convenience. They know their products are addictive because sugar and fat are engineered in just the right way to keep the brain craving more, and they profit enormously from that human weakness. On top of that, we have to acknowledge the economic and social system. It's a painful irony that in America, a fresh salad can cost more than a portion of fries, and bottled water sometimes costs more than soda. Healthy food is harder to access, while cheap, unhealthy options flood every corner. For many low-income families, there simply isn't much choice. Survival often means eating what's affordable, even if it's harmful in the long run. And finally, let's not forget the lack of health education. In schools, children learn math, science, literature, but very few are taught how to eat well, how to listen to their bodies, or how to protect their health. Our kids are growing up in an environment where junk food is everywhere, but knowledge about nutrition is almost nowhere. When you put all of this together, food culture, sedentary lifestyles, industry manipulation, economic inequality, and lack of education, you realize obesity isn't just a personal issue. It is a social issue, the result of a system that has been designed and reinforced for generations. So when we say things like just exercise more or just eat less, we're only scratching the surface of the iceberg. What we truly need is change at the root, a shift in how we see the problem, and in the very environment that is pushing millions of people toward obesity at alarming rates. When people talk about obesity, most only think about appearance, that someone overweight looks less attractive or struggles with movement. But behind those extra pounds are consequences far more serious, and ones that very few dare to speak about. The first is the massive burden on the healthcare system. Did you know that America spends hundreds of billions of dollars every year treating obesity-related diseases? Type 2 diabetes, heart disease, stroke, even certain cancers, all are closely linked to obesity. Hospitals, doctors, and insurance providers are overwhelmed by the growing number of patients. And in the end, those costs aren't just paid by the individuals, they are carried by all of us, by society as a whole. Second, the impact on the economy. When a large portion of the population suffers from poor health, productivity inevitably drops. Workers take more sick days, their performance declines, and businesses lose money. And beyond that, think of the future generation. Children growing up already obese, with weaker health from the very beginning. This means America is raising a generation of citizens less able to reach their full potential. Another truth society rarely acknowledges is the psychological and emotional toll. People who are obese often face stigma, ridicule, even discrimination. They may struggle with low self-esteem, loneliness, and many studies show a strong link between obesity, depression, and anxiety. This creates a vicious cycle. The more stress they feel, the more they turn to food for comfort, and the more they eat, the more stress and guilt they experience. It's a silent tragedy we don't talk about enough. Beyond individuals, obesity also affects communities and the younger generation. Think about it. When a child grows up in a family where both parents are obese, unhealthy eating habits are repeated, passed down both genetically and through lifestyle. Today, American children are becoming obese at rates never seen before, and that is a warning sign for the future. Because a society where even children are battling chronic diseases is a society in deep trouble. And perhaps the most overlooked truth is collective responsibility. Too often, we blame individuals. They lack self-control. They're lazy. But if you look closer, you see obesity is the result of an environment. Aggressive advertising, cheap junk food everywhere, schools that don't teach nutrition, communities with few safe spaces to exercise. All of these forces combine to push people into obesity. And by blaming individuals, we hide the larger truth that society itself is responsible. So obesity is not just about looks, not just about weight. It is a mirror reflecting what has gone wrong in modern society. And until we face these uncomfortable realities, any solution will only be temporary, never enough to create true change. We've seen the alarming numbers. We've talked about the causes and the truths that most people are afraid to face. But now comes the real question. How much longer will we stay silent? If we continue to accept things as they are, then 20 years from now, how much worse will the obesity epidemic be? How many children will grow up trapped in heavy bodies with weak hearts and limited futures? How many families will have to watch their loved ones fall to diseases that could have been prevented? The time for change is now. And that change cannot come from individuals alone. It must come from society as a whole. First, each of us must start with ourselves. Let's be honest. What are we eating every day? How much time are we giving to movement, to taking care of this one body we've been given? No one else can live for us. No one else can be healthy for us. The choice lies in your hands. But personal change is not enough. We must demand accountability from the food and beverage industry. We cannot allow them to keep profiting by promoting toxic habits, by poisoning an entire generation. It's time for consumers to raise their voices and force change. We also need stronger health education. Let's teach children how to love their bodies, how to eat wisely, how to live actively. Because if the next generation grows up without knowledge, then all of our efforts today will die with us. And finally, we must build an environment that makes health possible. Cities with more parks, schools with better meals, communities that encourage activity instead of locking people in front of screens. This change won't be easy, and it won't happen overnight. But if we don't start today, tomorrow will only be worse. Obesity in America is not just the story of a few individuals. It is the story of a nation. It is our story. And we have two choices: to keep looking away or to stand up and fight for change. Remember this: every small decision you make today, one healthier meal, 1 hour of exercise, one voice raised against harmful food practices, is a brick laid in the foundation of a better future. If we are brave enough, if we are persistent enough, then one day we will be able to look back and say, we did not give up, we changed, and we saved the next generation. It's time we face a hard truth. Our current diet is slowly destroying our health. Meals overloaded with red meat, fried foods, sodas, and fast food don't just make the scale go up. They silently damage our hearts, our livers, our kidneys, and our future. But there is another path, a path of hope. Shifting to a plant-based diet, or at the very least, making plants the center of our meals. This is not just a passing trend. It's a scientifically proven solution, supported by thousands of studies. Plant-based eating reduces the risk of obesity, diabetes, and heart disease, and can even extend lifespan. Picture this: a plate bursting with colors, leafy greens, vibrant fruits, wholesome grains, and nourishing beans. This isn't just food. This is life. This is pure energy. This is how we fuel our bodies without sacrificing our health. And here's the truth. Going plant-based is not difficult. You don't have to change everything overnight. Begin with one plant-based day a week, or simply load more vegetables onto your plate. These small, consistent steps can create a massive transformation over time. We all say we want to live healthier, longer, and happier lives. That choice begins right at the table. Choose plant-based for your health, for your family, and for a brighter future for the next generation. We have walked together through a journey, from the raw truth about obesity in America to the hidden causes, and finally to the solutions that so few want to face. And now, the biggest question remains. Will we choose silence or will we choose change? Remember this, obesity is not just about weight. It is about health, about society, and above all, about the future. If we continue to ignore it, our children will bear even heavier consequences. But if we begin to change today, we can rewrite the story. Change is not impossible. It starts with the smallest of choices. A meal filled with more vegetables, a walk instead of hours in front of a screen, a decision to say no to fast food and yes to your own health. Each of these choices is like a brick, and when millions of us lay those bricks together, we can build a society that is stronger, healthier, and more compassionate. So if you are hearing these words, I want you to ask yourself, where will I begin? Do I have the courage to change? Because your answer today may determine your health, your happiness, and your lifespan for years to come. Obesity in America is not a life sentence. It is a wake-up call, and it is also an opportunity. An opportunity to reflect, to awaken, and to create a better future together. And never forget this. Change begins with you, with today, with the very next meal after you hear these words.